Chilling in the garden where the green leaves grow. Catch a vibe so smooth, feel the peace overflow. From the mountains to the sea, take a token, feel free. In the Cannabis and Network, that's where happiness be. Blazing trails with friends, dancing in the twilight. Smoke rings right high under the pale moonlight. Every puff a new story, feel the world align. In the Cannabis and Network, let your spirit shine. Come on, join the crew where the good times flow. In the Cannabis and Network, we all take it slow. Feel the rhythm of the beat, feel the love and glow. In the Cannabis and Network, let your worries go. From the desert to the snow, we light up the days. Laughing in the moment, letting stress fade away. Cannabis connect the bonds we create. In the Cannabis and Network, we elevate. Leaves of green bring scenes serene. Life becomes a colorful dream. Inhale the peace, exhale the strife. Cannabis and Network, give me life. Come on, join the crew where the good times flow. In the Cannabis and Network, we all take it slow. Feel the rhythm of the beat, feel the love and glow. In the Cannabis and Network, let your worries go.
What's up, everybody? And you can see in the big screen, we've got Dan the Man. How's it going, Dan?
It's going good. It's going good. Thanks for having me back.
All right. In chat, we've got Tom Kingery, DB, the caretaker of the asylum. We've got Kim. Where'd she go? She's in there. Kim Marston, Miss Renee. Hello, hello.
What's up, Renee? Hi, DB.
All right, so Dan went on an adventure. We were going to join him, but we were on the road. So tell us about your adventure at Cannalaugh.
Oh, Cannalaugh was it was a blast. I mean, it was a fantastic event. A lot of planning. You could tell it was a lot of planning, a lot of work, especially behind the scenes for the guys, Andrew and Brian, just putting together a badass event. Yeah, I think there was close to 500 people that showed up at the Galleria, and just filled with some of the coolest product that I've seen in a long time. For people to try out the DJ, they had the comedians, and that was the big highlight. And then we were able to be there and share our product, and then also introduce kind of a little bit more with Sin City since we last met. One of the big things that we've done is kind of trying to bring, when Sin City's in an event or a show, where we've created more of an interactive playground for adults. We bring in the whole casino, So at that event, we had the roulette table, we had the blackjack table, the craps table. And people are, we give them their chips, they gamble, and then they're able to take those chips and cash them in for T-shirts, hats, just all different types of swag. And that's what we're kind of becoming known for, outside of having a great tasting gummy. Look at you two. I mean, the swag is really taken off and has been a big hit. So it's always cool when I see people wearing it, and as if it's more of a fashion statement too, along with supporting the company.
Yeah.
So it's pretty neat.
It's nice clothes too. Like,
what's that?
It's nice quality. Like, it's not cheaply made. It's good quality. Like, we tell people all the time when they see it, they like it because of where we're at. We're in Illinois, as everybody knows. So they like the brand because it represents an Illinois company, cannabis company, and then for a variety of other reasons. And then when we talk to them about it, they're like, well, man, it's nice. It's a nice jacket. It's a nice hat. It's a nice jersey. Where can we get it? Well, we tell them. We show them your Etsy link. We show them your page, and then I don't know how much you're selling or what you got moving out, but people are asking. So
he's always getting comments on that jersey that he got. That's beautiful. That thing, the color is great on that. Everybody likes that.
Well, we sold out of that fast. We actually have another shipment coming in, and that's already half sold. So the swag is moving. People enjoy wearing it. I think it's, what people don't realize is we're not necessarily really a Vegas company. We're Chicago based, born and raised out here. We live out here, so it's just Sin City is the feeling when you get, or what you think of when you think of Vegas. It's not so much Vegas, but Sin City is the fun and the excitement and the glamour and the lights and the noise, and it's just an energy. And that's kind of how we like to think of our gummies. Is just something it stands out. When you eat them, you can't help but smile when you look at them. You're having fun. It's just something so different and so unique. And for me, this is all about the experience. When you're eating a gummy, it sounds silly, but I was telling you, when people get flower, you use a bunch of senses. You smell it, you look at it, you taste it, all those things. And some people even drink the bong water, right?
Drink the bong water.
But it's so for us, that was kind of the big thing, is when you see the gummy, you smell it. The smell is probably one of the biggest things that people compliment us on, and then they taste it, and just the whole 9 yards. So it's a different energy and vibe, and so that's really where we kind of embrace the Vegas.
I seen you had a couple new reviewers. When we first started bringing you up on panel, you were new to the platform. Now you're working with all kinds of social media people across multiple platforms. And it's good to see you growing in that aspect, because you were new to social media a few months ago. And now you seem like you're a social media guru. You got all kinds of people out there, like that Polita lady. You got new ones posting every day, new people posted all the time, and that's going to help you grow. I think your Instagram is probably getting about 200-300 hits a day now, at least, if not more, which is good.
Yeah, it's crazy. 8 months ago, my email was an AOL account. Okay, yep. On my business card, I had a fax number. So we've grown very quickly into the technology world with the email, and my son's convinced me, like, Dad, you got to get rid of this AOL and the fax number. Nobody does that. I had to fight them to get a business card. They wanted me to get that little magnet or whatever you put on the back of your phone, and you just touch people's phones with it. But and we're upgrading to that. But getting on social media and just posting things out there. But really, it's such a cool feeling. And I thought about this when I was just getting ready for this podcast, was the way I felt when we first talked. And yes, there was excitement. I think there was also, it was almost like a little bit exhausting, because all the work that went into it, we're finally launching, so you almost needed to reset and recharge. And then here we are roughly 3 months later, and it's just crazy how out there, the buzz, the kind of the craze. We're still working on getting in dispensaries, and that's a process, because it's not as simple as people think. You've got to get to the buyer, and the buyer is the gatekeeper. But once we get there and they see the product and taste it and the effects of it, and then they see everything else that comes with it. And I think sometimes that's unfortunately in a product, it's sometimes the branding and the marketing is better than the product itself. And
it's all about the packaging.
Yeah. The promoting of it, things like that. And I take great pride in the fact that, our branding is top notch. Our whole theme of our product, from the Vegas and the energy and the nightlife and the fun of it. But then you have this gummy that when you see that, it takes it to a whole nother level, because it's such a unique thing compared to what's out there. There is absolutely nothing. And that is such a hard thing to say. There is nothing like this product on the market. And guys like you, Jericho Jericho and Jess, you guys were my first fans, and I love that, and you didn't even know me. So it wasn't like I won you over with my charm. It was the product, it was the branding, and then you got to taste the gummy, and that's what we're getting back from people is just that when they're tasting the product, they're falling in love with it, because it's a dangerous. I know I told you this before. It's a dangerous gummy, and I hate using that word, but what I mean by that is when you eat one of these, you want to eat another one.
Oh yeah,
that is the one of the rarest things you'll ever hear come out of a person who eats gummies, is that the gummies are so good that you can't just eat one. And unfortunately, I'm about a 10 milligram guy, so I can only eat one. But that's what I love. And remember, that's all Nico. Nico's the one, my son, who creates all the flavors, comes up with all the ideas. Braden's been going to town, developing all the swag and the themes that we bring to these events with the casinos. It really is kind of all coming together, having great branding, great marketing campaign, but also having that other third piece that's probably the most important in my eyes, is having a product that is delicious and it's good, and that's one of the having that three is like having that trifecta and having it all.
Yeah. Hey Dan, can I ask a couple questions about your edibles?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. The when you're making them, is that is it like a gelatin based gummy or a vegetable gelatin?
Is it a pectine? Is it pectine or is it a gelatin based?
Yeah,
Ours are gelatin based.
gelatin.
So ours are gelatin. Ours are truly the old school gummy that we all grew up on.
Gotcha.
Most of the gummies you see in this market are pectin, or in some cases a combination of pectin and gelatin. You'll know the difference when you take a pectin gummy or even a partially pectin gelatin and you pull them, they'll break.
Yeah.
When you pull my gummies, they stretch like that Stretch Armstrong, and then you put them down and they come back to their original form. So I love them. When you eat them, they've got a little snap to them, a little gummy to them, and then they start to nicely melt in your mouth. And that's where those flavors, it sounds corny, but when you eat them, it's like a rush of saliva in your mouth, like your mouth is salivating over the flavor. So I sent my son to college with a finance degree and a marketing degree. Who would have thought after 4 years at Bama, he'd be making gummies? But he's really embraced it, and he is just having a blast in this industry. And he's learned so much in just the 3-4 months that he's been going.
Yeah, I'd love to see you be able to get nationwide with this stuff, because I'll tell you, we have nothing like this. I live in the Northwest, and we have nothing like your product up here. Everything, even my favorite edible company, I'm not going to mention their name, but even my favorite edible company, you can just taste nothing but hash. That's all you taste is the green. And I remember when Jericho found your product, I remember him saying, "Man, too bad you don't live nearby, because this is the shit right here, man." He said, it tastes great. He said, it tastes like something you want to eat, He said, your product is something that you really want to put in your mouth and enjoy, rather than something that you're like, well, I'm going to put up with the taste so I can get high. There's a difference. There's a difference, trust me.
And you're right. And that's kind of the cliche of a lot of the gummy companies out there. And partly there's reasons for that. Most of the gummies are also very small. They're 2 grams, 3 grams of gummy mix. Our gummies are 7.5 grams per gummy.
Yeah.
So you're 200-300 times, 3 times the size of these other gummies. So that does help in masking the cannabis taste.
Yeah.
Like I said, there are going to be some people who want that cannabis taste. You'll get that with ours. You'll start getting a little bit of that when we get into the macro. that we're launching. That's our all-in line. So that's where, again, you have a 7.5 gram gummy, but now you're adding, instead of 10 milligrams, you've got 50 milligrams.
Yeah, exactly.
But considering that a lot of the macros are still 3 grams of gummy mix, it'll still minimize it a little bit more.
Yeah. They just sound like such a great product, like I was saying, because up here you get these 10 milligram gummies, but they're small, little, tiny things. And you really taste the green in them. And same with the drinks. I mean, they make everything from these obnoxious large drinks, 10 milligrams, or you have this little tiny mini drink that tastes like green, like you're drinking chlorophyll or something. You know? Yeah.
Well, we and I know what you're talking about. That's size is one thing, and everyone always thinks, oh, the bigger the gummy, the stronger it is. No, it has nothing to do with that. We really created this because our poker chips are, the actual size of an actual poker chip.
Nice.
And, give you an idea. Here, you got a poker chip here, and you got this, and then you flip it over. In fact, it might even be a smidge bigger than a poker chip just from the gelatin. But that was the whole goal, was to create an official size poker chip, and then the same thing with the with the dice, is having an official size craps dice that actually Jericho will tell you, you can, if you lose your dice for your board games, Monopoly, just and you can use these to roll.
It works.
So, but yeah, so it's so that's that's the one thing that does help with masking the cannabis taste. And like I said, when cannabis went legal, you opened up to a whole new world of people that want to try it. And from the 21-year-old who's never had a gummy, maybe has smoked something in college or in those years, and then you've got the moms and dads and even the grandparents that are eating it, and maybe they don't want to smoke, but they want to eat a gummy, and sometimes you eat that first gummy and it's rough. They're thank God they're small sometimes, because then you can get through them quicker. But that's the thing that is a great compliment. People say, man, you got to make some uninfused ones for me so I can sit there and eat them, when the high kicks in and so forth. So it definitely has reason for that size.
It sounds like you're really setting the bar for edibles here. Especially, at least in your state, you know what I mean? Because Jerry just says you can't say enough about them. And that's something, when I first got in the cannabis industry here in Washington, I got in under the edible side, actually. I was working for a palliative care company that provided THC-infused foods to cannabis patients, and so I would make complete meals that were infused. But sometimes those meals for individuals had to be very small because they've got cancer, they've got whatever wasting type of wasting disease, they might have, where they may not be able to eat more than 2 or 3 ounces.
Yeah.
And you got to be able to infuse enough, thick in there, but not so much that they can't eat it.
Yeah.
So it's really a fine line. And that, I found that there's a very fine line. And some of them were just like, hey, just give it to me. I'll take it. I'd rather have that than the pain. And then there's others that are just like, no, please, if you can just do it without taste, let's do it that.
Yeah.
And you kind of had to adjust things accordingly, and it sounds like you really have it down there, because it's really a science to get it there. It's really it's nothing you just happen upon.
Well, it's a science what you're talking about doing, because it's more of it's an art where you're trying to give them the correct dose that they need and want without them knowing taste wise, right? Yeah. Taste wise that they're getting it. So, and I know what you're saying. their appetite shrinks dramatically. And so you even if you made a full plate or a small plate like you're talking about, I don't know if they would even finish that. So you're almost, that's the challenge, is to do it. And I know some friends who, they'll make little treats, like small little brownie bites, right? Yeah. Just a quick little treat for an elderly parent, or that just helps them with some pain, helps them with some relaxation, the anxiety, even like the dementia, although it doesn't necessarily help with the dementia, but the anxiety that comes from that dementia, which I'm experiencing with family. I have an elderly mother, my mother-in-law. They're getting up there in those years, and you just kind of, this is something that is definitely something that can help them.
Absolutely.
In a good way. Who would have thought there was such a taboo when they were kids that they to take this to just help them through, sometimes through the day or sometimes through the night.
Hey, look, one of the family that I work with, the last week the son comes in there because he owns the shop that I work out of, and he's like, "You got any bud with you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, there's some bud in the truck." Well, his dad works with me a little bit, and his dad's like 80 years old, straight as the arrow the Indian shot, and he wouldn't go get the bud out of. Now he's 43 years old, and he wouldn't go get this bud out of my truck. And his dad knows I smoke. Like, he had a problem with that, and his son was like, "Look, you just might as well get over that with him, because if you see him, he's going to be high." So we've gotten past that. Last week, he wouldn't even go get bud out of my truck. That afternoon, his mom sends me a text, who's been having some, I think, autoimmune issues. And she's the same way, just as church going, straight and narrow as she can be, 75, 76 years old. And she's like, "Hey, I've been having a hard time sleeping. And Fran told me that, I should talk to you about some gummies." So here's the son that's scared to get it out of my truck in front of his parents. And then his mom's texting me, asking me, never done anything like this, possibly since. I wouldn't be surprised if they never touched it when they were in college. That just wouldn't surprise me at all. But now, because she's having some health issues, she's embracing it, and it's helping her sleep. And, I had to go get her a bag 2 days ago because she'd done run out of the bag I got her a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
It's like you said, it's really funny, the people that are embracing cannabis at this point. Like, I've co-owned cannabis companies since 2019, and right after they signed the Farm Bill in 18. And I'm going to tell you right now, there's not a person I've told what I do that hasn't been like stopped in their tracks and been like, hold on. Old, young, it does not matter. They're all interested. Everybody.
Yeah. That's what's kind of cool about it, is it's not just that 20-year-old kid, that's intrigued by it. Although that's where a lot of the people jumping into this industry are the young kids. In fact, I tell you, it's a young man's game.
Christ, Joe's 137 and he loves it.
He loves
it. There you go, Joe. We ain't fucked with you none tonight. Want to go ahead and get that out of the way.
All right, I appreciate that.
Yeah, we love you.
He was around before bread was made. She just said it too quiet for you to hear.
Yeah.
When all bread was still flat.
Bunch of young punks.
Yeah. So we put a hashtag Sin City is to get you straight on the Wheel of Wonder when we do our 333 giveaway. That's for the Sin City swag bag up there on the wall.
Yeah. So, hey, Jericho, I got big news, man.
All right.
Bag of swag.
Tomorrow, April Fool's Day, will be 29 years clean, green, and sober for this guy with 2 thumbs.
Congratulations.
Wow. Nice.
Oh, yeah.
29 years. Yeah, nearly 3 decades off the juice and the juice. You know what I mean? Yeah. But it's also my
that's awesome.
My son's birthday, and yeah, quite a day for me, April Fool's Day.
Oh, he was born on April Fool's?
So yeah, Matthew, my youngest son. Yeah,
Yeah.
Nice. So what
Yeah,
else
we
you
like-
got coming up in the near future there, Dan?
What's that?
Said what else you got coming up in the near future? I know the ins and outs and what's going on. So I just got to ask because I don't know what you want to talk about.
Well, we got a busy month with of course 420.
Yeah.
Like a lot of us, so we've got stuff on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then the following weekend. We're just doing a lot of different events throughout town, throughout the Chicagoland area. So again, we're spread out this way. We're hitting different markets, different potential customers of all ages, all demographics. The one that I'm one of the big things I'm excited about that I told you is being a part of Keefe Fest down in Peoria. So that's going to be a big one. We've got a show on 420 at Perception over in Chicago on Clark Street. On Sunday, we've got a 420 Eve party that we're sponsoring, and we'll be there, and that's by High Q. It's a improv comedy show that they do. Really a good time, a lot of fun. And then the following week,
Boss Lady's birthday.
the 19th.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's what do you guys got planned?
Well, on 418, we're going to that the thing I sent you down in Vaughnville or whatever the block party on the 18th. Okay. We didn't know of anything on the 19th yet or the 20th. We haven't got plans for those 2 days yet.
Yeah, we've got it's going to be it'll be a busy weekend, and then the 24th we're doing an event with Moonrock Matt that a lot of you guys probably know. He's a good guy. He's become a good friend. The fishing tournament derby. So we got involved with that, and Matt's been a great supporter. Another person who tried the gummies. Him and his wife, they loved them. So it's worked out really well.
We need information. Fishing tournament. Where the fuck is it? He doesn't give any not specifics. If it's like where generalized, is it Lake Michigan or is it like the Chicago River? Where am I? I'm set. I can catch 150-pound fish with what I got on my poles, or I can go fishing for bluegills. What are we looking for here? What do I need to have ready?
Well, you know what? I hate to say this. I love fishing. I love sitting on the boat with the guys, having a couple beers, especially at the crack of dawn. And but when I catch a fish, I need guys like you there to take it off the hook. I'm a little, you know what it was. I'll tell you this story. I was an altar boy back in grammar school, and priests, we would go to Mundelein, and they have like a preschool there, and like a Montessori type thing. And we'd go there, and they take all the altar boys there, and it was just like a half-day trip, and we'd fish. And I remember one of the first, they were little bluegills, and I didn't know that they had spikes in their fin. The defense of that whole thing. And I learned later, you slide your hand on the mouth, from the mouth, and slide it back and hold it. But I didn't know because I was just holding it flat in my hand. And when I went to put it back in the water, the spike stabbed me. And for some reason, that scarred me as a young kid. But my sons love doing it. My godson loves doing it. So we'll go fishing. And, basically my job is to pay for the fishing license, pay for the worms, take a bunch of pictures and have some fun. And who would have thought maybe this is where your age starts coming in, just sitting there and watching your boys fish and joking around with them. There's a thing I saw where they always say, one of these days, we'll figure it out where you'll enjoy the good old days when you're in the good old days, right? Because we always say, I missed the good old days, but you don't realize they're the good old days until it's over. And so I cannot tell you, the fishing thing has been a lot of fun. That's one where I feel like I'm in the good old days at that point, hanging out with them, and it's just it's just the boys, just hanging out, talking. Half the time we're teasing each other and busting each other's chops, but that's all part of when the guys get together and fish and so forth. So. But I'll get you all the information, and I'll be getting that from Matt and posting where it's at. I know he's got several contests, biggest fish, the most fish, things like that they've caught. We're sponsoring the most
ounces of weed up for grabs for each one, and I was like, well, shit.
Yeah, the prizes are going to be great. You'll love them, and we'll do.
She caught more fish than I did last year.
Be quiet, Coronado.
Buddy, I've been telling you, she's your better half.
She kicked my ass last year. She was pulling in the catfish left and right.
Us men, we all think we know more than everybody else, but it's a good woman who can come in and kind of realize how much you don't know. And so.
As long as I get to eat the fish, that's all that matters.
Well, I'll tell you the one thing worse than that, Dan, is beginner's luck. My buddy Peter here is my fishing partner, and I taught him how to fish this last year. Taught him how to tie his first fishing knot. Taught him how to catch his first salmon, for crying out loud. What does he do? He skunks me.
You rubbed off on him in a good way. That's all.
I guess so. I don't know. Man.
That's all.
We went out one day. He caught them all like cats and bupkis. Yeah.
Well, it never fails. My little guy, he always catches the biggest. He's got the biggest fish on, and I think a lot of it is because he has the most patience. Yeah. And he'll let it sit out there, and he just, he's a little different than my other two boys. A kind of a mixture of both, but he's very precise like Nico. He's very animated like Braden. And when you bring that all together, but he has a very coolness or calmness over him. And I think that's where, when you're fishing, if you're not one who can relax and just take it all in and enjoy the moment, it also probably reflects in how you work your rod, and your bait and all those things. So he's a little bit of a natural.
Right on, man. That's cool.
So
that rocks.
You want to run that there, Jericho?
Yeah. We're gonna do two of them, one now and one at the end.
All right. You ready? Good luck, everybody. In 3, 2, 1, go.
If I get it, it goes to chat.
Renee.
Renee, you're on the
there.
You getting the big race already, Renee. Congratulations. But anyways, got some more questions for you. So gummy wise, I know you were working on some stuff last time we talked. Any developments, any news on those, on the micros, the macros?
So we're getting ready to submit everything to the state.
Yep.
On the macro line, and then we have the sugar-free that's going to be rolling out. We have an effect line, so we have our sleep, our energy, our relaxation, our like a bliss, kind of a euphoric feeling. Effect lines, effect one. So roughly, we're hoping that by the end of July into August is when we'll start rolling these out, which is pretty much in line with what I thought. We wanted to have about a good 6-7 months of introducing the product to the state and getting out there. And we're hoping that, by that time we'll be in a significant more dispensaries, that it'll allow it to complement and be a nice add-on to the current lineup that's already being sold in the dispensary. So you do have the macro, you do have the effect line, you do have the sugar-free, and then we have, like I was talking about with the nerd gummies. So these we just did a little bit of a kind of a sneak peek release over at the CannaFest on Saturday. And, you've got your traditional poker chip, but on the back, it's coated with the nerd candy. So kind of you got the gummy, the gelatin gummy that is got the nostalgic gummy taste when you were a kid, and then you add in the nerds, and it's kind of just amps it up another notch. So we have that, and then we have a taking the poker chip, but this gummy poker chip will then be coated in chocolate. So that'll be something a little different, chocolate covered gummy poker chips. And then probably, there's a couple other ones my son is working on, and he's kind of the mastermind behind it. So I just let him kind of run wild, and he's talking about, having a little seasoning spice that he'll add to those chocolate covered gummies, and just making them even that much more memorable and kicking them up a notch.
Nice. That's right on, man. Oh, you mentioned the word nerds, and boy, all of us, we pipe right up. What?
Well, I mean, we all remember them as kids when they first came out,
Oh, yeah.
And
Man.
it's always fun when you see a candy that whether it's the nerds, whether it's even those the kids' cigarettes, which God forbid if you see those anymore, but remembering those, the white stick candies, or the there you go. See, Joey, you're reading my mind, buddy.
Right?
So
I love nerds.
Having some fun with this, and this is what it's all about.
Yeah.
This has kind of been our MO. When I first showed this gummy to someone before they saw them, they just thought that you're crazy, Dan. You're going in a market with the big dogs, the Wanas, the Wild, the Canna, the OGs. It's like you're Davy versus Goliath here, and my
That's okay.
thing, it was, and what I said to him, I just said, listen, I just want you to look at the gummy and tell me what you think. You've been in this industry. What I learned a long time ago is I take advice and constructive criticism from people who are walked in the shoes that I want to walk in. And they've done what I've done, and I respect everything that they say and the guidance they give me. And when he saw the gummy, his whole demeanor changed. And that's what gave me even that much more that we're on the right path. And it was the words that he used were like, these are fun. These are fun and these are cool, which seems so silly when you think of a gummy, because the gummies that are out there visually, there's nothing to them. There's nothing that wows you. There's nothing that gets your attention. There's nothing really to talk about when you look at a gummy. But then you see, dice with all the detail on them, and being able to roll them and have fun at a party. We have these women who have these dice parties, these BOGO parties, and this is kind of the main snack for them are the craps dice. But it's just something where when people see these, you just have a lot of fun. It's just a fun gummy, and I think that's what the gummy market, the gummy sector, is missing. There's nothing that blows you away or gets you excited or gets you talking about the gummy.
We were at a dispensary before we came to visit you. We went to a dispensary and we waited in line about 2.5 hours, I think.
Yeah.
And they came around and they were giving out everybody packs of gummies. And we were like, okay, cool. There were these like pineapple flavored something or another, sativa with caffeine and whatever. We still have a pack. They were disgusting. I messaged you about them. It was hilarious. She's like, here, suck on this, taste it. And she did that, and it was like kind of like bile.
Yeah.
The only way to describe the flavor of the gummy. And I have an unopened pack that I'm going to let you try.
Okay.
Just so you can see what we're talking about.
It sounded terrible.
Yeah. I don't know. Are you trying to punish me? Did
No,
I do something wrong?
so you can see what's out there in another gummy in comparison. Like, it's another major brand. It's like, hey, we've got these gummies, and they're shaped like pineapples, and It's not a normal gummy. They went, a little bit above and beyond. They went to the shape of a pineapple, and it's kind of got like a little sour coating on it to make it so they don't stick together. And it's a gummy, I think, because it stretches. But it's the most horrendously flavored gummy you'll ever eat in your life.
Yeah. Well,
and then we got the gummies from you when we came to see you that were a little old or whatever. They were delicious in comparison.
We ate all those to get to taste them.
Yeah, those are what you tried were when we were making them out of our house, like practicing, and Nico was practicing making all the different gummy mixes and all the different flavors, and those were he was doing like 5 milligram micro dosing in them, and it was just he had made so many because he made so many because he just kept practicing and practicing, trying this flavor, trying that flavor, and I just put them in the fridge, and I would eat them because, like I said, I'm a 10 milligram, so 5 here and then 5 there, but you don't want to store your gummies in a refrigerator,
right? But they still tasted a million times better.
Yeah,
than one of these fresh out the pack gummies. Is what I'm saying. Like a million times better. And that's not even pulling your leg or trying to shine you on. I want you to try one of these horrible ass gummies.
It was so bad. It tasted so horrible that I was like, I tasted it. Now you have to. And I told him he has to suck on it to get the full flavor. But like I set him up to taste that.
It was disgusting. What's up, Rampage Gardens? What's up, Monkey Man Productions?
Dan, he tried to send them to me, and I told him I was going to throw the motherfuckers in the trash.
Yeah. I wanted everybody to get punished by these things.
Fuck that.
Joe,
I got some. I got some 500. I got some 500 milligrammers in here that I fuck with.
You don't mess around. 500 milligrams. Call me in about 2 weeks. I'm waking up. Joe, I was thinking about you because I gave Jericho some. They stopped over at the house, and I gave him a little teaser of our chocolate dice, of the craps dice. So the chocolate ones, and I told him, get some over to Joe because last time we talked, I want to make sure you got them. And then when I talked to him, he's like, "Oh shit, man, I ate those. They were gone before I hit Champagne." All those. There was a good 30 or so or 40 in there that I gave.
Oh
you.
Man!
But they're a little. Those are addicting when you get that chocolate and that gummy. Who would have thought it? It's a good combo. But I was thinking about you, Joe.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it, man.
Contest. How did the contest go for Parkway and the other dispensaries? Did you get any info on those?
No, not yet. We're running that through the month. So we got another day or two, but it's
over today,
and that was the jersey that we were giving to the bud tenders.
Yep, that's over today.
We had a contest with them because at the end of the day, your bud tenders are your front line. They're your most important. Without them, your product doesn't have a shot. Really, even in a lot of dispensaries, they all want whatever the bud tenders say. They'll let them try them, and if they like it, they'll grab you and bring you aboard. Did you want what did you have to say, Joe?
No, I was just waving to Marcy Collins coming in the house over here, a good friend of ours.
She's out in Roswell, New Mexico.
Oh, we're all over the country.
Oh yeah,
we're all over the world. We got people in Amsterdam. We got people in Chile. All over the place. Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah,
Michigan.
So I figured something out about cannabis there, Dan, that I've been sharing with some people. A little bit of science minute about marijuana, about cannabis. I realized that scientifically it makes your blood run faster through your capillaries. That's why your eyes turn red, things like that. It's also why you get that heated sensation when you smoke marijuana, right? Okay.
Yeah.
But when you get overheated like that, you perspire, which causes your body to cool down, right? So smoking pot actually makes you cooler.
Yeah, I never heard of that.
I never heard of that.
I love when you get a good hit in your forehead. and forehead sweats and everything. That's some
Think
good
about
hits.
that. Pop
Usually
makes
I get that red look when I have a glass of red wine. For certain wines, I get that beet red face when I eat a gummy. Usually, like yesterday, I was trying out some gummies. I like to. I also there are certain gummies I like to try. I like to always see what the competition's doing, and try to stay with them. And just trying them out. But I'll cut them in half and I'll do 5 and just see how it affects me there. And then I'll do sometimes the other 5, especially towards if I do it around like, let's say 8, 9 o'clock, I'll do 5 and then I'll pop another 5 around 10:15 or whatever. I've been trying to get to bed early. Usually I'm a night owl, but we've been making gummies, and when we make them, it's 6 days from start to finish, from doing 2 flavors a day, from the molding, packaging, and so forth. So they were busy over there today, and they've got about 2 more days left of gummy making, but trying to get ready so we can fill these orders for 420. So it's exciting. So they're going at it. So the orders, the dispensaries are climbing. It's one at a time, but they're going through them, and they're getting them out there and they're selling.
13 now?
No,
12 right now. So we're averaging about one a week. We've got a number of them that have already contacted me this week, wanting to make sure, hey, we want them before 420. So that number should jump over the next week or two. So that's exciting. And some of them are multi-locations. So, my goal was I kind of set maybe the goal small, multiple goals, if you want to look at it like that, where we wanted to be in by the end of April, we wanted to be in around 20, 25 dispensaries. And we'll hit that. I'm sure we'll hit that. And then by the end of the summer, our goal was to be in around 45 to 50 dispensaries. We have the capacity to make 30,000 units a month. So it's in a turnkey. Our system is so simple. It's already designed. It's already set up. All the equipment's there. So as the orders come in, our ability to scale up is just marking a box, that we're making this.
Man.
Nice.
So, but that's what they're doing. They've been doing for the last 2 days, and they started on Friday, and they should be done by Thursday, Friday of this week. We'll have them all packaged and get ready to get shipped out. So things are coming along. We're getting there. It's one dispensary at a time. It always helps when you have people who are trying them and they're posting, their thoughts and feelings. And some of these people I've approached personally and said, hey, I'd love for you to try the gummies. And they all ask me, like, what do you want me to do? Do you have anything you want me to say? And I just tell them, you say whatever comes to mind. You tell me the truth. It could backfire on me one day. Somebody puts out a review and they don't like them. But, I can tell you this with 1,000% certainty, that whatever comes out of those people who have reviewed these gummies, I had nothing to do with. That's their true feelings. And that's all I asked of them is just be honest. Be honest about the taste, be honest about the effect, be honest about the flavor, the smell, everything, the packaging, the whole 9 yards. And it really is a cool feeling. Here we are, like I said, 3 months later and seeing, I was walking down the street. I saw a guy wearing a Sin City hat for the St. Patrick's Day, which I thought was so cool. And we had a nice, a cool St. Patrick's Day shirt that we made, and those were gone before I even had really one for myself. But my son, they were down in the Wrigleyville area for St. Patrick's Day doing the pub crawls, and they had the shirts on. But they ended up bumping into people they didn't even know that were also wearing that same shirt, that were bud tenders at a dispensary. So it really is. It may seem silly to some people, but when you see people who really love what you're doing, it makes you realize all that crap that you went through, all the sweat, the fight, the sleepless nights, things like that. It really makes it worth it.
Everyone telling you that you're not going to fucking make it. All of it.
You know, I'm from Chicago. I'm a Bears fan and a Cubs fan.
There you
We
go.
always have to believe, man. We persevere. We don't
That's
quit.
that's
You know,
that's
and you're
right.
absolutely right when they tell you that.
No quit in us.
That is the ultimate motivation.
Absolutely.
You know, it's not to ever turn back and say, "I told you so," or in your face, but sometimes that's what gets you fired up one day. Not every day you're rocking and rolling. You need those little kicks in the butt sometimes.
Are you looking at putting out a vegan line soon?
We are, and that's where we'll look at a pectin gummy, because that's the vegan gummies. Our gummies are gluten free. They're low in sugar. They're but when you get into the pectin, and that's what you're talking about, that's the vegan. But the one thing that we do, a lot of people who eat a vegan gummy, it's not necessarily because they're vegan. Oddly enough, you'd think that was the case, but it's because maybe they're allergic to pork, or they can't have pork, or they can't have chicken. And one of the things that we've had some people ask us, like, I've never seen this. When in your ingredient list, you say beef gelatin. And a lot of people don't realize gelatin comes from animal products. But we felt that it was important to specify the type of gelatin that we use. So
It's from the hoofs, ain't it?
Pardon?
It's from the hoofs, ain't it?
Right. So I mean, it's a way of just being more responsible, and I think that goes even when you look at our gummies and we put, the milligrams. I think we're probably one of the only companies that does that, and puts the milligrams and also a cannabis symbol on our gummies, so that people know that this isn't just a piece of candy, and. So when you're talking about it, that it's a beef gelatin. So, hey, if you can eat beef, then you can eat this. If you can't have pork and chicken, this is perfect for you. But we are looking at doing a pectin line. I know for our Vegas launch, that's something that's a little different because the heat out in Vegas is like night and day out here. People say it's dry heat, that it's different. It's hot. And the pectin allows you to have a little bit more stability, a lot more stability.
Oh yeah.
And that's where you do see people where you can do also a mixture of the two, and it's just a ratio where you're mixing roughly about 30% of the pectin and 70% of the gelatin, and that'll give you a higher melting point, usually right around the 150 mark. So we're looking at that because I am not necessarily a pectin gummy fan. I like my gelatin gummies, and
I agree.
That's just me. But sometimes you got to have it. You got to cater to all the masses, right? You got to cater to all the markets, and we do have some people who do like the pectin, and they are true vegan across the board, and so we will have that. These are all things that I'm the guy who tells myself, like, hey, Nick, we need a sugar-free. Make one. We need a vegan one. Let's get that going. All these different things, and then I just kind of work with him, and he's probably almost as much of a perfectionist as I am, and as he likes to put it to me, it'll be done when it's done. It'll be ready when it's ready. And I'll tell you a crazy story. My son, Nico, he has never eaten one of the gummies that we have sold into the Illinois market.
Oh wow!
And it's kind of a strange thing because you ask him, like, hey, Nick, didn't you? People say, like, didn't you? And he will, like, he'll eat them when he's making the ones, in the kitchen when he was putting them together and trying them and doing all the sampling, but he's never tried one of our gummies. He does try, the competitors. He likes to see what everyone's doing and the uniqueness, and kind of keeping up with the Joneses. But, I said to him, I said, don't you worry? Like, are you intrigued or wanting to know? And he just knows. He's like, Dad, I already know what they taste like. They're good. I don't need to eat them to do that. And I like trying other people's gummies and making sure that we're always right there with them and ways that we can improve and have a better product. But I just thought that was kind of, I don't know how you could take, some people might take it a different way, but to me, it just kind of shows he's a very confident in what he does. And when he puts it out, he has put that thing through the ringer and tested it, tasted it, and it's perfect when he's ready to go. So in that respect, that's why he's like, I don't need to taste it. I already know what it tastes like. I already know it's perfect. I'm not worried about it, and of course he loves when people compliment it. And it's hard to imagine this 23, 24-year-old kid figured out how to make gummies because his old man was grossing them out when I was making them. He did not like my gummies. I'll admit, they were not good. There's an art. There's an art to gummies, just like in making the food and infusing it. There's an art, and he's really engulfed himself into learning that art.
Sounds like he's really developed a palate for it.
Yeah, you know what? He he's had a couple where he'll try it and I'll see him dumping it, or he'll take it and he'll start tweaking it some more, and he's got his notepad and he's doing it. And he starts, when he makes his gummies, he's not doing infused ones, to start. Because you're testing it, you're testing the color.
You wouldn't know.
Yeah, so that's kind of the thing there. But so getting back to what you asked, we do have some other stuff coming out. The pectin is something that will roll out. It won't be the majority of our product line, but we'll have at least 2 SKUs of the pectin gummies. That's mainly for our vegan customers.
Nice.
That's right on. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you get up into these states that have been legal for quite a few years, like Washington, Oregon, California, and you can literally find edibles for every particular diet known to mankind. I mean, kosher, you can find halal. You can find it all. You can find it all. Yeah, it's amazing. Vegan, vegetarian, you name it, they got it.
Well, it's just awesome. It's awesome. That's where the markets went to. I mean,
well, that's just it. Yeah,
it's grown. It's grown to accommodate everybody.
Yeah.
We accommodate them, right? I mean, that's the whole point. As a brand, you want to have different products, and it takes time. It's not necessarily the smartest move to throw out 20 different products at once.
No,
right?
No.
Or even all these different flavors, and so that's my experience in it. And I wanted him to scale up. We keep building and building, and then you hit him with this, and then you hit him with this one. So there's always something. And then you hit him with the nerds, you hit him with the chocolate covered, all that. And so you keep taking it to the next level, and wowing them. And then being able to have where you have people who you want them to be able to enjoy the whole experience too. So you gotta get them a sugar-free one. You gotta do a vegan one for them.
Yeah.
And so I'm okay with that. It's just like I said with him, it's got to be perfect. If it's not perfect, you get one shot. That's how we think. You get one shot at this, and
that's truth.
Everything's got to be spot on. And so I'll give him that. He's very particular, and when you eat it, that's the best product he could have put out for you. There's no half-assing it.
Right on.
Yeah.
That.
Right on.
I've definitely eaten a 500 milligram gummy. I've eaten 1,000 milligram gummy. I've eaten a Delta 8 horrible demon gummy.
A demon gummy. Yeah, we had a slight partnership with a lab, and they did edibles, and I mean everything from salves to shampoos to any kind of food that you could infuse. And we live in North Carolina, which is the crazy thing down here, because with the hemp, you didn't have to have shit for a license. As long as the only thing you had to have a license for was to grow hemp. You could sell it, you could start a product line, you could infuse it, you could do everything. I think you had to have one for extraction, but for extraction and for growing is the only 2 licenses you had to have to handle THCA products.
Okay.
And the lab makes all kinds of stuff. And I mean, like we would get, they were making 30 to 50, 60,000 gummies a month. So there was tons of damn stuff that would be left over, or like when they would clean the gelatin machine out, there would
Yeah,
be
yeah.
runs where the two would come together, to the two flavors, and they'd have to run through to get all of it out, and it would be mixed for a minute. So they would just give all that stuff away. And I did not partake in the Delta 8 craze. I didn't want no part of it as far as with the products and stuff. I don't believe in it. Don't like synthetic cannabinoids. So I stepped away on that one. But we occasionally would get some batches of Blims. Therefore, I gave Jericho one day thinking that he knew what it was.
No.
No idea.
Not everybody in this world takes accountability for their own fuck ups, Jericho.
I thought it was THCA or just weed. I don't react well to Delta 8. My name was Ralph for over 3 hours straight.
Oh,
He didn't even know how to get out of my house. He was in such bad shape. I felt terrible. I done fucked old buddy up. He was in bad shape. Then he was telling me he was going to have to drive home. I'm like, you can't drive home like this.
yeah. Well, with the licensing, I'm not real familiar on the hemp side. I mean, with us, we don't have a license here. We work under Echelon, and they've been a great help to us and giving us the opportunity and just believing in our product line. And I can't thank them enough. And a great friend of mine, Steve Weber, is the one who brought me to this group, and we were a great fit, or would be a great fit, have been. The people over there, Bianca, especially, has just been fantastic, making our lives so much easier. And Paul, and then you got the transporters, and it's that's a tough section of this industry, is the transporting, because there's so many different ones out there. But we've been fortunate enough. We work with Hands to Heart and Joanne over there, and Rob have been fantastic to us, understanding that we're a small family-owned business just getting started, and really helping us out and working with us. So we've had great support, even though we don't have a license, but by all these guys with these licenses looking at us and really just helping us out and helping us keep climbing and getting to the next level. So there's so many people that you don't realize, you take a step back, who have been there for you. I look at Jericho and Jessica. I remember seeing him and briefly talking. If we did, it was very minimal at the Tilton show. You spent a lot of time talking to Vic, and then I called you and we were talking on the phone, and I remember when you first said, "Hey, I'd love for you to do the podcast." And what did I tell you? Well,
You're apprehensive.
I mean, I'll be honest with you, I'd never done one. So I was like, I'm very protective of it. You never know. I didn't want to feel like you were Jake Tapper, just nailing into me and putting me on the spot. But after I did it, our relationship kind of expanded, and it is what it is. And I consider you a great, not only a great supporter, both of you, but just dear friends, because it just means a lot when people really do go out of their way to show love and support. So just with everyone we've met along the way, and even at the shows, the brand ambassadors, and meeting them and having fun with them and getting to know them. And, when we do the shows, it's us. So it's Nico and myself and Vic, so the guys who are making it, the guys who are running the company, they're also going to the show and talking. We'll deal blackjack. We'll play the craps table. We'll give out samples and talk to them about the company. So that's kind of a unique experience also for people that we meet, is you get to actually meet the guys that are making it and that are in the trenches, and you get to hear that story and so forth. So it's definitely been a great ride. I'm glad in that respect that I don't have the license, and I think that's where I'm kind of going. We wouldn't have met a lot of the people along the way that we've met, and they've definitely been able to help us opening up doors and making introductions, and sometimes it's a pep talk. It's just that come on, I love your product, keep going, keep pushing, because it can be, you can knock on 50 dispensaries doors and 49 of them, they don't even
Tell
answer.
Yep.
And then you get that one, and that's all you wanted that's all you needed was that one, and then the next day you keep doing it, and then you see the like I said, the response from people when they sample them and try them, them taking the time and putting these videos out, showing their love and support for it. So it really is. It's so much has changed over the last 90 days. It's crazy. It's crazy.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
But
Congratulations.
all in great ways. So yeah.
amazing,
Hey,
man.
where's your neon? I don't see.
On the wall over here.
Oh, it's on that wall over there. Okay.
It's just bright.
You got matching neon. No, I know I had to dim mine down a little bit.
So how do you dim it down?
There's just a little adapter that you plug in, but I'll get that over to you, because those ones they're bright.
Oh yeah,
they're bright. Especially with the camera. We when we do our shows, we have the craps table, and we'll put the neon behind it, so it's nice because that'll light up the table. So we don't need any special lighting.
Shit, I don't need a lamp.
It'll light up your whole house.
Yeah, I don't need a lamp anymore in the living room. I just turn that on. That's the whole living room light.
The red light special going on over there where Jericho is.
Brown chicken, brown cow.
So let me ask you guys. So it sounds like you enjoy the flower as a big part. Are you kind of new with the gummies, or are you more of just kind of it's a mix of both?
I've co-owned cannabis companies since late 2018.
Okay.
And I'm a growing consultant. So I've ran 30,000 plant facilities before.
Okay.
I got into this, a while back, and we were lucky to create some partnership arrangements with some really big people there when it first started in 2018, 2019. And we ended up hooked up and affiliated with a very big lab, and which, anybody that's been in this industry, especially from the beginning, we all went through a lot of shit, and it's just now kind of planing out. And see, I'm in North Carolina, so we can't do anything but hemp here. Now with the THCA, now it's completely created a whole new ball game, which just got paperwork signed on it to end it. But that's neither here nor there. Hopefully we'll get the 3-year extension. But if that goes through, that pretty much completely puts me out of business in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like all of us that went into this, we've seen the instability state to state. So we've known, there's a lot of people that are panicking and freaking out. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I have my moments when I'm frustrated with it, but we all have known when we got into it that they could fuck it up, and the chances of them fucking it up were higher than them not fucking it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's really what they do, is they develop a market and a need and prove the need. Then they, create laws for it to where the only people that will be able to make it are people that really are going to give the government the kickbacks, the big companies.
Yeah.
Truly, you know what I mean? A lot of those guys. And I'm not talking shit about them. They got their shit together, whatever it is, what it is. But, I like to support the smaller businesses. I like the craft growers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The people that actually give a shit about their products. They're not trying to just push it as cheap as, cheaper than it really should be to sell a whole bunch of it.
No, I'm with you.
for me, for me, I just came back from my cardiologist, and I quit smoking. And he told me I got to quit the vapes too. So I'm stuck over here. The only thing I can't do no more hash, no more weed, no more wax. The only thing I got left is the gummies.
Okay.
So that's where I am.
And your
And you
lemonade.
gotta have that- you
And
need
the
that
lemonade,
pepper.
yeah, that's another thing. The infused drinks, I like them.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you right now, I just had a soda, 100 milligram soda, and that motherfucker was off the charts good.
Yeah.
It was called Renegade. And it was the best fucking THC drink. Everything I've tried has tasted terrible. I mean, like you wouldn't even want to drink it.
Yeah.
And these are fucking amazing.
Yeah, they
And
are.
they're
Some of
they're
them are real
100
good.
they're 100 milligrams. And I'm gonna tell you right now, you drink that whole can, it
They
works.
must be expensive.
$10.
Wow, yeah.
But if you buy a certain amount, that if you buy like, I don't know, if you buy a certain amount, you get one or two for free or something like that. Like there's a deal you get with them when you buy a more bulk amount.
You know what I do is if I'm needing to medicate without smoking, is I'll take a bunch of hash, put in one of these silicone containers, stick it in the oven for a little while, decarb the hash, and then weigh it out by the 1/10 of a gram, because each 1/10 of a gram is basically 100 milligrams, and so you're taking a lot, and each you put them in little vegetable capsules, those little gelatin capsules.
Yep.
I do that sometimes, but one time I didn't measure. I just kind of, I'll just put this last little gloop in there, and it was a little too big.
Yeah.
I could barely find my feet to get to bed. Yep.
Oh, that's funny.
My preference is hash first, weed, flower, wax, then gummies, then drinks. What's your preference?
Yeah.
So, but no, edibles is a category.
Yep. Yeah. Edibles.
Edibles,
Vape.
vape,
Weed.
weed,
Then everything else.
then anything else.
See, I'd go with hash first every time. I'm a
Yeah.
hash geek, and I love making hash. I love everything about it. The cleaner, the better, And if I make it myself, I know what I got. I know how clean it is. I know how pure it is. And so I'd always go hash first. And then for effect, honestly, edibles. Edibles, just because of the fact that when you eat an edible, it goes to your liver. It makes it a little bit stronger. So you really don't. It's more economical way to dose yourself with cannabis by using an edible. And then flower, and then I'd have to say like rosins, things like that.
Wax.
Yeah. What's that you got
Shit.
there, Joe? What was that?
Homemade
That was
sucker.
I was gonna tell Texas Gypsy that I ate one of her lollipops the other night, and that thing threw me for a loop.
You're not supposed to eat the whole damn lollipop, Joe.
I did though. I was watching the UFC fights, and I was sucking on the lollipop and having a grand old time watching the fights, and then all of a sudden I couldn't move in the chair.
4 hours later, Joe's like, "What the fuck happened?"
You
Yeah,
realize you're in the
really,
space
really.
chair.
Joe, you were like the owl from the Tootsie Roll commercial. A couple of licks, next thing you know, you're biting down on it and eating the whole thing. Oh. No, that's I've never really been much of a flower smoker.
Yeah.
In fact, the crazy part, when I first went to a dispensary, this is back in Colorado Springs in 2010. I walked in there and it reminded me of Caribou Coffee. And they had the counters with the glass, and then inside there were all these glass jars that were just filled with stuff. And I remember asking the guy who was taking me on the tour and asking, what is that stuff? And he's like, "Oh, that's the bud." And I'm like, "No, or no, he's asking like, what? And I said, that stuff in the jar. Like, what is that? And he looked at me kind of funny and he said, well, that's the bud. That's the flower. I said, I've never seen anything like that. And they were, the nugs, that were in there. And we went back in his office and he had a bag of trim, which I didn't know it was trim. And I looked at the bag and I'm like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. He just looked at me like it was like going to Napa Valley and ordering White Zinfandel. Like, we don't smoke this stuff. We at that time they were almost giving it away, and then people were making the oil in their homes and infusing and so forth. But it's amazing, how much even for myself. It's crazy. It's been 16 years that I've been involved. My hand's been in this industry from just an investor to helping design and help people get their applications and their licenses, opening up a grow and doing an infusion. And at one point, we were in multiple states. I was involved in multiple states, always doing white labeling though, always someone else's product. And so that's why this is kind of taking 16 years of experience or seeing other people's journey and learning from them and kind of putting it all together. And then, of course, you got to find a home. And that's where, like people like Echelon, it gives us that opportunity to get in there and show everybody what we can do. So without them, we're not having this conversation really in the end. So that's always tough. And that's what I told my son. I was like, you got to understand, there are so many brands out there that aren't in the game. And you just got called up to the major leagues. And that's where you go, where you got that one shot, and if you strike out, you're pretty much going back down. And there are a lot of brands out there that are fantastic. I saw a handful of one. I was just blown away. It was just so unique and different. Another one we had was Mr. Weed was over there, and he had the tappers with the smoke coming out in the cup, and then I had another one. He had a freeze dried nug. I mean, it was just some really cool and out of the box kind of thinking with these guys, and that's what I love to see. Is when I go into a dispensary, I always like asking the bud tender, what do you got that's different? What do you got that's unique? And 9 out of 10 times they're like, well, we got these live rosin gummies, or we got these live rosin vape pens. And he's missing what I'm saying. I'm not taking anything away from a live rosin gummy or a live rosin, but when I want something unique and cool, I want something that when I look at visually, because I'm more of a visual guy, something that's different. So, hey, I'd love, I remember one of the coolest things I bought was an inhaler in California that you just pressed down and it gave you a dose. And we used to make a pen in Vegas by a company called Dosist, and you'd be inhaling the pen, and you could hit it hard or soft, but once it hit a certain dose, it would shut off. It would start vibrating. It would shut off, and it's things like that that intrigue me. Is guys who come up with it's one thing to make the product, but the art in making it, and then the art in how it looks and how it's delivered. And that's what I love it. And I think you see that more. I see so many other brands out there that haven't made the show. So we truly love where we're at. But it humbles you a little bit, and it makes you appreciate the opportunity you have, because there are a lot of guys out there who may never get that opportunity to be in the game. So it definitely has been a crazy 3 months. We'll have to jump on another one of these, but not have to wait 3 months. It's always a good time to do this now. And I feel like a pro on this bike. Who would have thought? I almost needed to take a couple gummies on the first one to relax. I was so nervous about it. But no, it's hopefully we'll just keep moving forward and keep plugging and doing events like the 420 weekend and Moonrock Matt's fishing derby, and then the Keefe Fest, and we're trying to get involved with the IWC, and that's a women's organization for cannabis, and we were just talking to them and want to be a part of that, and being a part of the veterans, and trying to find ways that we can collaborate together to help those different, to be a part of a supporter to all these different organizations and groups. So I think that's kind of our next chapter that I want to bring into our company is how we can collaborate with causes, especially the veterans. I mean, that's a big thing near and dear to me. It should be near and dear to all of us.
Absolutely.
Speaking
That's
of,
something I'm looking forward to.
I want to welcome in the Soil King. He's one of the hosts for Keefy Cannafests. Welcome in. He just popped into chat there.
Whoop, whoop. Good to see people coming in to interact with us, man. The Soil King and everybody else. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's always interesting, Dan, getting how you come to hear about people's brands and products. Because I see posts every day on my Facebook about your product. I'm out here in Washington. And
Really?
Like almost every day I get a hashtag Sin City something.
Okay.
And so when I share it, I mean, people get it. You know what I'm saying? So it's just interesting that how far it spreads. Of course, we don't have your products out here, but it's still good to, you never know. I mean, I got cousins and stuff in Illinois, and Marshall and West Union. They live near Terre Haute, Indiana, if you know where that's at. It's just across the river from there, and you never know. They might see it and think, well, what the hell is he talking about? See your product and pick it up, because, man, a product where it's about the taste is really something rare in the cannabis market. So good on you, man. I mean, I'm really impressed in what you're describing, how your son can already know what it's going to taste like. I was in the food industry for over 20 years. And I know exactly what you're talking about. You can smell your food and you know what's in it. You know that it's good, or if something's off just by smelling it, just by looking at it. It's really an anomaly to have somebody who can do that. So good on you guys to have that. You have that in your son. It's really exciting to have in your organization. To have somebody that can who just gets it. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Well, and that's you hit it on the head. The taste is, when we first came up with the idea of the poker chip, right? It was something that would stand out and be unique, something different. So if I laid 50 gummies on the table from all different brands, and I told you, all you got to do is get 5 right. That may seem easy, but it's not, because these gummies all kind of look the same. And that's what's kind of neat. Even if Sin City's an easy name to remember, but even if you can't remember the name, it's almost impossible if you don't know the name of a gummy line, to find that gummy. And because when you describe it, you're describing 70-80% of the market. If it's a square, if it's a cube, how big it is, all that, and it's almost impossible. But what's been really cool is one of the dispensaries that just put an order in with us, they had people actually come in and they said, you guys got that poker chip, and that's what's kind of cool, is it's such a unique look. And it doesn't have to be in Vegas. It doesn't have to be sold next to a casino. Listen, everybody is a poker fan. Everybody's a blackjack fan. Everybody loves roulette and craps. Everybody loves the slot machines. It's kind of like how cannabis has grown to being normal, is one of the norms, as opposed to be somewhat of a taboo. So it's being embraced. And when you talk about going into other states, you naturally think, well, do they have gambling there? Because automatically tie it in. But we've actually had some conversations. They haven't really come to a lot of fruition about going to a couple other states where we can launch. We will be launching out in Nevada. We're still going through some stuff out there with the CCB. But the thing is you got to establish yourself somewhere first.
Yeah.
And that's
Yep.
kind of been our MO is that, hey, you just keep building here in Illinois. And Illinois is a great market.
Yeah.
And if you can, what do they say? If you can make it here, you can make it anywhere, as far as from a success story. But we're focusing on this here. And I think, in time, we'll look at other markets or other great markets to get into. Minnesota would be a great market to jump into, especially early in the game. But I think maybe this is the fatherly instinct where I'm telling my sons, let's just focus right here. Let's focus here. And that goes even where we had people coming to us saying, hey, do you have flower? Do you have vapes? Well, we don't grow flower. If you want great flower, go to Echelon. They got fantastic flower, and for us, we just wanted to be a gummy guy. And we wanted to make a gummy. You look at some of the bigger brands, that's all they make. They're a gummy, and it'd be a great gummy. And we can create an extensive product line as time goes on and build off of the success of these first 6 products, SKUs that we put out. But we really don't have a desire to have a vape pen. I don't have a desire to have a flower line. It's nothing against all that. Sometimes you can be really good at one thing and then you throw in some other stuff and you're not so great on those things. And I think it takes away. So if you're going to be a burger joint, be a burger joint and make it.
Yeah, absolutely right, man.
And that's how we look at it. And, people, our orders are very small as far as our minimum orders. And our thing is, hey, even if you're unsure, because it's always a little nerve-wracking when you bring on a new product, regardless of whether it's unique and different, and there's a lot of buzz about it. But we offer a very low intro rate. We take care of all the bud tenders. From the minute we walk in the door, all the bud tenders, full-size samples, they're getting hats, they're getting the swag. We're getting them excited. My white beard, I used to have the whole thing on. People, when I come walking in with these bags, you're like Santa Claus, coming in. But really just trying to take care of them. And, we got a new dispensary opening up out in Des Plaines and super good. They're out of Michigan. They're also in Ohio. Jim over there and Cade, first thing we did before we even really talked about getting our product in there was you got a training session. We're going to buy your staff lunch, your training. And we run around, we give out swag to even the dispensaries we're not in. And we make sure we have everybody covered right down to the security guard and just taking care of them. And the ones we're in, we take care of. The other day, my son was running around just dropping off cookies, just a treat. And, not only we do those, like I said, with the dispensaries we're in, but we do them with we do about 60 different dispensaries that we hit with all of our swag and treats for those bud tenders. And there's a lot of ways of looking at it because sometimes the bud tender has some influence in getting the product into that dispensary, and sometimes it doesn't. But I think that's also we take the approach that one day we'll be in there, or one day somehow it'll be. But getting when you've got bud tenders that are telling you, I keep telling the manager, our boss, all that stuff, we got to get this product. And there's a process, and it's a long process sometimes.
Yes, it is.
That's a great compliment. That is such a lot of these reviews that you've seen online. These are bud tenders. I don't know them. I just met them. I'll ask them to do a review. Some of them reached out to me. I want to try it. And I'll be like, here, you can pick it up at the dispensary. But it's just amazing the response and the way these reviews have come in, and they all, I don't want to say they're all the same. I don't mean it like that, but they all kind of say the same thing. They all talk about that taste. That, man, these are good. I don't taste any cannabis in here. And you know what? I get it. there's a push in the market for live rosin and live resin, and then RSO. And there was a time where everything was RSO, and then distillate came along, and everybody wanted that golden oil,
Yeah.
and then now there's live rosin, and then there's live rosin, and there's different processes, there's different benefits of it all. But there's a big niche in the cannabis gummy world where they don't want to taste cannabis.
Yeah.
They want the effect of it. They want the medicine of it, the whole 9 yards. They don't want to taste cannabis. And that's very difficult to accomplish with RSO and even live rosin and live resin.
Yeah.
We keep our product very inexpensive. And that's where I've had some people telling me, man, you shoot yourself in the foot. You should be charging, this is a $25, $30 product. Some dispensaries are in that 20 to 25, but I push them to do the discounts, the specials. It's this thing where, you're in that $18 to $22 range. And if you get a special, you can get a little bit more on that. Everything we make is by hand. So that's the thing. So it's very time consuming. So our cost, our cost of goods and labor costs to make this product and still leave enough on the bone, but also pass that savings on to the dispensaries, so then they can turn around and provide a product like this. When you really look at it, and you look at these products, and if someone said, hey, this is $18 for 100 milligrams, 10 pieces, and you compare that to some of the other gummies that are out there for the same price, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, you feel you're getting your money's worth too, and that's an important thing too, especially today. Money's tight for everybody. And we still need our medicine. We still want to be able to enjoy things. We shouldn't have to buy something that we just don't really like or enjoy because, it's cheaper. So that was kind of the push here, is that we've got a great product. It tastes fantastic. The effects are fantastic. But we want to be in a price range where people can afford it and enjoy it. And if it means we don't get that 40, 50% profit margin, so be it. Like I said, part of this journey is making a product, being in the game, but also part of this is really a mentoring. Not too many guys have the ability or have the luxury of working with their sons and grooming them and sharing everything you've learned over almost a decade and a half and teaching them and then also watching them absorb it in months. And you're like, man, it took me 10 years to figure this out. These guys are learning a month, but that's what also makes it. So one day I'll step out and they'll take, and they pretty much do everything now. I think sometimes I just hand over a card, and pay the bills, pay for all the things so that they can keep building and expanding the company. And when my son Nico came to me and Braden, and they said, hey, Dad, when we do these pop-ups, when we do these shows, it's great. We're there. We got a cool looking table, cool looking booth. And people come up, we talk to them. They love the look. They eat the gummy, and then they move on, right? I mean, that's your typical, a lot of these shows. And they said, listen, we need your credit card. All right, we need your credit card. We got an idea. And they didn't tell me what it was. And I just remember all these boxes getting delivered. And then they're over at the hardware store, and they're doing all this. And one day they were working out in the garage, getting everything set up. And they asked me to come out there. I walk out there, and they built these a craps table. And they had the blackjack table and the roulette table. And now they added in the temporary tattoos. So you can get all your Sin City tattoos, all the logos on there. And once we started doing that at these shows, it just became a totally different experience at our booth. It was an interactive. People wouldn't leave. They were having fun. And that's what I like when we do these shows now. People when they're there, they talk about their experience with Sin City. So you become more memorable. and people remember you and they interact with you and they want to come over there and see what all the yelling is and the excitement at the craps table or at the blackjack table. So we're kind of doing something a little bit, I don't want to say unorthodox, but everything we do is a little bit different. And so far, so good. So far, it's been working. So I can't complain.
Hell yeah. That's got to be awesome for your sons too, you know, having their pop being the one that's getting them into this.
Well, it was their idea because they came up with the poker chip and the dice. And this was back in 2018. So this has been sitting on the table for quite a while. And then it wasn't until about a year or so ago that my sons came to me and they were like, Dad, why don't we do it? Let's just do it. You know, you've worked with a lot of brands. You've helped get them to market. Sometimes you're their worst critic a little bit, you know, as far as what they should do. And you're always giving people advice. And there's been times I've gotten off the phone with some of these brands and I'm like, man, these guys just don't get it. They're not doing their homework. They're not doing their research, you know, whatever it is. And my middle son, leave it up to my middle son. He's kind of more like my personality, where it's kind of like, you know, wow, Dad, you talk a big game over there. Let's see you do it yourself, you know, and how it works out. And that's when, you know, we actually sat down and said, if we're going to do this, you know, we're going to do it together. And, you know, I'm going to help you, but this is something that you guys really want to do. And, you know, we'll work as a team and we all know our role in this. And that's what also makes it very effective. We're a small group of employees, or family that are in there working and doing this stuff. And, you know, it's not the most exciting thing to sit there and pull a gummy out of a mold.
No.
And, you know, when you make 6,000 units, that's 60,000 gummies you got to pull out in there. So you better like the people you're working next to because you're sitting there and before you know it, you're already done because you're having fun doing it.
Yeah.
So it does help when you're with your sons. I think I probably enjoy it more than they do at this point. I mean, nothing against them, but you know, for a father, like I said, to be able to go to work with your sons and teach them and share something that really is special and unique, and also teaching them how to appreciate everything that's been given to us. And yeah, we work hard for it. And but you know, people have to open the doors, even if it's just a little bit, and you got to burst through it. But there have been a lot of people who have been supporters of us and helped guide us through these shark-infested waters. And the cannabis industry they're full of a lot of sharks. But
very much so.
You know, and I hate to say it, I'm the guy who I'll jump in the water, right? You know, if the sharks attack, they're going to attack me. But somebody's got to protect the flock, right? And
hey, ain't afraid of punching a shark in the nose.
That's
right.
it. That's it. You know, but it really is, and you learn a lot. There's a lot of good things in this industry, a lot of good people we've met.
Yep.
And there's quite a few characters in this industry, but that comes with everything, you know. But
absolutely.
I'm just proud to see them really embrace this industry because it is awesome to be in it and learn it right down from product development all the way to compliance and not making sure we don't drive Bianca crazy over at Echelon for making sure everything's done by the book, you know, because there's no gray area. It's either this or, you know, this is how it's done and you got to do it this way. And that's a tough thing for people really to understand there's just one way to do it. These are the rules and you got to follow these rules. And as a license holder myself in Nevada, you know, that's my livelihood, part of that license. And you got to make sure you protect it. And unfortunately, you know, sometimes you get people in there and they don't appreciate or understand that you can lose that license. So you got to be very careful. And that's also what I'm teaching is just to be responsible, to take care of the people who are taking care of you, to show appreciation to those bud tenders, especially in those dispensaries, and show that you really care, about what you're doing and who you're doing it with, and the people that you're meeting along the way. So it's a proud moment as a father. Let me just tell you that. Not too many people have that experience. So I'm fortunate to have had that.
Now, have you talked with Cookies at all?
What's funny is
I know that's kind of a.
I got an email today to reach out to a particular person there at their Bloomington dispensary, and I'd love to be in Bloomington Normal because that's where I went to school. As I'm a Redbird out there, and in fact, I'm talk quite a bit with the Redbird Cannabis group that's out there for the students, and hope to be a speaker there. But I've talked to a couple members of them and talked to them about the industry from my perspective, and sometimes my perspective, I can look at it or explain it to you from 20 different sides of the table. Being, like I said, an investor, being a guy who wrote applications, help people get licenses, help people design their facilities, work with different vendors to bring their equipment in, to building my own cultivation, and then building my own infusion, and then working with brands and getting them launched, to now bringing our own brand to fruition. So there's so many different areas in this industry, and it's kind of a wild ride. But Cookies is probably one of the coolest dispensaries. I love Cookies. I love their brand.
It's a game changer. You know what I mean? For a guy like y'all that just started something up, I mean, that's 0 to 100 right there. If he decides to start putting that in their dispensaries.
Yeah, and we're trying. The tough thing, a lot of people don't understand. When you go into dispensary, try to get into dispensaries like Zen Leaf, Verilife, Cookies, Nirvana. These are chains, right? And there's a process to get in there, and
it's franchise.
And sometimes it's never going to happen. In fact, I've mentioned certain dispensaries, and I've had people tell me, you're never going to get in there. It's never going to happen. It's nothing personal. The day you're in there, the day you are in those particular dispensaries, means you are no longer doing your business the way you originated. And what they meant by that is you have now joined with them. They've brought you under their umbrella. And that is
play by their rules.
You're going to get into those dispensaries. And that's somewhat unfortunate. Maybe that's the part where people don't like how the program is here in Illinois, is that there are some big players. They almost create a monopoly, call them like the big five out here. But there's also a part of me who's been in the space who understands, these guys were here when there was nothing, and they were hemorrhaging, and they fought through it, and they kept fighting, and just to stay alive. And I don't want to say they've earned that right to be the way they are, but maybe in some ways they have. It depends how you look at it. It depends what side of the table you look at it from. But one day, we're going to get in there. But there are so many other great dispensaries. We got into Exoleaf and DeKalb, and I love Rocky out there. It's such a great dispensary. Being able to get into EarthMed and in the 3 locations that we're in, and Duval over at True Essence in Arlington Heights is fantastic. And, the Snap Cannas, one of our first ones was Parkway. Larry got us in there. Jordan is fantastic to work with. Tabitha and Laura over at Mystic Green. I mean, we're really blessed with the dispensaries we are in. They're great.
Yep.
And I hope I didn't miss it. We just started with Perception, James Baldwin over there. A lot of times when I get to meet them in person, and I'm a people person, I can't stand emails. I can't stand texting people. I'd rather talk to you on the phone or grab a cup of coffee with you and meet with you. And a lot of these dispensaries that we're in were the ones who allowed me to show them And there are quite a few that they don't even answer the emails or the phone calls, but you keep emailing, you keep calling, because it's going to happen sooner or later. But my love and loyalty is to these dispensaries that gave us a shot right out of the gate. It's been the support we've gotten even from them has been huge. So without them, you can have the greatest product in the world, but if you don't have a dispensary that's willing to give you a shot, you don't have those bud tenders that are excited about selling it. You're I hate to say it, but you're dead in the water.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's great to have a good product to stand behind, man.
That's key.
Yeah.
That's the key. There's hundreds and thousands of good products, but there's not but so many fucking killer products. And if you have a fucking killer product, and especially if you don't kill them on the numbers, and if you market it properly, I mean, that's the biggest thing with this industry is you have to be able to market and, advertise really aggressively, which means really the only way you can do that is to go to shows and basically give your product away.
Yeah.
You got to be able to get their attention by your setup. Then you got to be able to then give them something that's going to blow their fucking mind to where they will never forget you.
And he did that in another way.
It's that simple. It's that simple.
He did
but
that.
It's going to cost you some money.
He did that with merch. And people are talking about his hats. They're talking like they go to the dispensary and they see the bud tenders wearing the hats because when he gives the stuff to the bud tenders, they wear it. Like,
well, you got if you got good looking gear.
Well, it's funny because we got into a dispensary Aces, which is a casino theme. So that was like right up our alley. And Kevin over there has been fantastic, and they've got 3 other locations we're working on getting in there. But sometimes you get that one, and they'll say, "Let's see how you do." Right? We'll give you a shot. We'll put you in this one, and that's all I'm looking for. Is once you get in, the other ones fall in. Getting into the Mystic Greens and start expanding. We're very fortunate to have been given the opportunity with EarthMed, and that was a test. The bud tenders had to love it, and they loved it evidently, and boom, we're in there. So, but it is, one of the things that we try to do is take care of the bud tenders the way we can. We're not the the Wanas of the world and the Canas and the OGs, and they've got enormous investor funding behind them. They're the big players. They're in every dispensary. They're vertical. Half of these guys are vertical. They're growing, they're extracting, and then they're making their own product line. And that's a very different thing. And a lot of people don't understand that. When you are a grower and you're also an extractor, and then you also have the infusion ability, and you're making your own product plus other brands that you brought in your umbrella, you've cut out all these middlemen. Yep. So
that's the only way to be.
To your costs probably from the grow all the way up to that finished product is less than considerably less than what it costs me just to buy the oil that I have to buy from an extraction, and all the middlemen and the markups. And so that's where, they've got deeper pockets where they can just gouge you and slash prices and take you out and undercut you. You don't want to they don't want to necessarily do that because then it takes away if they drop their price too much from the quality of their product line. But the point is when you're going up against guys like that, you've got to be able to sway people to with the product taste, but also with things like the swag. And swag is a big deal. You look at some of the swag we have. We're a Chicago brand. At the end of the day, we're Chicago. I grew up on Belmont and Austin, went to school out there, and then moved out to the suburbs. But once you're a Chicago kid, you're a Chicago kid. What do they say? You can take the kid out of Chicago, but you can't take the Chicago out of the kid. But we are a true Chicago family-based brand. And we represent that with some of our swag. You know, we do things embracing the cannabis or the casino. We have our poker chips, our custom poker chips, custom craps dice, playing cards, you know, the t-shirts, the slogans, you know, the stack 'em high, the let's roll, you know, the jerseys, all those things. And you know, when you look at the brand, this is stuff that people would wear, not even realizing it's cannabis, right? Because it's just cool. You know, it's got some swag. So you know, some drip, as my little guy says, who's 14. He's like, Dad, you guys got drip. Your swag has drip. You know, but you know, that also helps. And when we get an account, I said, all of those bud tenders, all those security guards, all of them, they get bombarded with our swag. We want them to have it. But more importantly, we want them to understand that we appreciate them and we take care of our bud tenders. And that's something that, you know, I can't speak for other brands, but that's where our focus is our frontline people. And then we do the events, we do the social media. And that's kind of your limited. It's kind of that. And but without the bud tenders, forget it. You're shooting blanks.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's awesome that y'all have had the success that y'all have had. I mean, I know what it's like. Trust me, it's a lot of ups, but there's a lot of downs that come too. You know what I mean? Like, you really have to wade through the fucking roughest of times just to get. This industry is not easy. You know, I tell people that all the time. It's not for the faint of heart.
Well, the states can make it pretty fickle as well.
That's the biggest thing, man. There's the you know, our regulations, man. It's just,
Yeah, you know, things were really great for the small time farmer that knew how to grow, and back in the medical days here in Washington. And once they made it recreational, why that put small time farmers like myself absolutely overnight out of business.
Yep.
You know, but you know, I mean, I guess that's progress, because not for nothing now, when you go to the dispensary, you know, it's been tested for pesticides, and depending upon the brand you get with the certification it has, it's also been tested for heavy metals and, you know, fungicides and all this good stuff, you know. So it's tested and regulated a little bit better, but you know, it did take out a big chunk of the market, the medical market.
yeah.
Fortunately, we still have medical cards, but you have to go to a recreational dispensary that happens to do medical discounts. If they don't do the discount, you're just out of luck. You got to pay full price. If they do the discount, well, you get 36% off your order right off the top. So that's how much the state gets, is 36%. And but yeah, so you know, there's a lot more oversight now than there was. You know, now you know that if you're buying a gram of something, you're getting a gram. You're not getting 0.8 something or 0.9 something, or you know, because
even some of his it's like 1.001 or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Just over
a little bit, yeah.
You had sent pictures where you were showing me where some of them were just a little heavy. One of the questions I had were, have you ever had to sue the state? Because you've been doing this about 16 years. So have you ever had to go against the state where you know you were right and the state was wrong, and you had to say, okay, listen, you're looking at it wrong, or go against, not necessarily sue them, but come back with a lawyer or come back with yourself and appeal a decision? Have you ever had to do that before?
are you asking me?
Yeah.
Can I Texas?
Yeah. Well, when you have a compliance board, and part of how they make their money is to find something. That's just the way it is. They're going to find something. Could be as simple as a visitor log filled out incorrectly. The experience I've had in this industry is, if you have the compliance board come in and they issue you a fine, and they see some violations, you can fight it. But the problem is you're fighting it to the compliance board. And I'll speak from some experience with Nevada. So those same inspectors are the guys who vote that you're fighting against. It's like going to court, and the judge is the one who wrote you the ticket for speeding, and he's the one who decides if you were speeding or not. So you're kind of fighting a losing battle. You'll spend more money on legal fees, and that's the lesson you learn real fast. Is you will spend more fighting them sometimes than just paying the fine.
Paying the fine and letting it go.
That's it. And I've had some silly fines. They're almost comical. Like, you got to be shitting me, to be honest with you. I got fined for a visitor log that they unfortunately printed up the wrong one, and it had changed, and now they had the reason for the visit, but you put up the wrong one. It was ridiculous. The amount of money that they wanted was ridiculous. But it's also a part of the business. That's how they also make money. Is finding those fines, and that part's the shame, because you get a significant fine, you're going to put a small mom and dad pop operation out of business. That's it. That's simple. Because these fines are not $500. They're $50,000, $100,000. I mean, it's ridiculous amounts of money. And then the worst part about it is, whether they say it or not, whether it's in print or not, it doesn't matter. Even if I had a fine, let's say I got a $50,000 fine, and the big guy got a $50,000 fine, and you work out a settlement, you're supposed to take into account the two businesses. This guy does 50 million in sales. This guy does 500,000 in sales. So 50,000 to him is pretty significant. That's 10% of your sales.
Yep.
That's probably, half or 30 some odd percent of your profit. But to a $500 million company or $50 million company, what's 50 grand? It means nothing. So, and I don't have lawyers on staff. I don't have partners that are lawyers. It's just me and the boys, and I've represented myself in front of the CCB, and I've gotten better results when I was working on some issues in Nevada, but it's ugly. And that's the important, and I don't know how it is in every state. I can only speak for the states I'm in. Even sometimes the simplest thing, there's a fine line. If you've got an extra load of flour or more oil than you're supposed to, that's different. Or you got less oil than you're supposed to, that's different. But the fines that I've incurred, they were a visitor log, or maybe something was labeled incorrectly, or a screw up. And if you've ever done compliance and working with metric, these things it's not like there's a book that they give you and show you exactly. Like, you got to learn it. You got to watch these videos and learn it. But there's no mercy, for a simple error. That's just what it is. It was a simple error. Everything else matches up. So some of these, when the penalties come in, you can sit there and you can bitch about it, but at the end of the day, you're just going to pay it, because you'll spend 30, 50 ridiculous money. If you got to go in front of them, so you'll hire an attorney, you may pay him 15, 20 grand to negotiate a settlement. And then if you don't like it and you want to go to trial, you're going to spend another 50 some odd thousand. Well, the fine's 50 grand. So sometimes you try to work it out yourself and you pay it. It's unfortunately the deck is stacked against you to try to fight it, outside of just trying to have a reasonable resolution and conversation with them. It doesn't make sense sometimes to hire an attorney to do it.
Yeah.
Plus,
your cannabis attorneys make more money in some aspects than a lot of cannabis businesses.
Well, it's a double-edged sword. You're even when you fight it, you're shooting yourself in the foot again, because these inspections come in every month. You piss them off, you know,
every
and
month.
all you can do is say, okay, make sure that visitor log is correct, or make sure, you know, someone's here today to let them in, or is available to let them in. You know, when you're a production facility, it's not like a cultivation. You know, cultivation, you got guys there every day. But when you're infusing or doing, you only go in when you're making gummies or you're making oil. But, you know, so if you're not there, that's another violation. That could be a violation.
Oh, no.
I mean, there's so many little things. You know, here, if you don't file your sales tax, which your sales tax is zero when you're a wholesaler, when you're selling, your sales tax there, the tax is at the dispensary level. But so let's just say you missed filing a sales tax report, which, like I said, you don't owe any money to the state, but man, they'll fine you for that too. So, you know, and then you worry about how many marks you get. You know, and they can pull your license from you, and that's even worse because it's most of the guys who are losing their licenses are the little guys because they can't fight it, they can't even afford it. You know, a lot of these people on these boards, they think it's the green rush, right? They still think it's the green rush that we make all this money, and it's not. That's not the case. That's not the case. We all know. You're in this industry. If you were in this industry for the money, you are no longer in the industry. You're of the industry. That's the one. And you hit it on the head. There are a lot of ups and downs, a lot more downs than there are ups. But sometimes those downs are also things that you look back and you take pride that you got through that shithole, you know, that shitstorm that you just went through.
Every bit of it. That's what teaches you. I mean, what put everybody else out of the business can be what defines you, should you know how to use that the right way.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the one thing, like with growing, you know, being a grower's consultant, I tell people that when I meet them, you're basically paying for my fuck ups.
Yeah.
Because what I fucked up and learned and grew from, most people would get out after that, or had to get out, or they couldn't weather that's what took them out.
Yeah.
But I've been fortunate to be able to, you know, learn from all my mistakes and be able to still kind of push through. And it makes you a better person in that industry.
Yeah.
Because you know what I mean? You done seen it. I tell people that all the time. There's the guy that taught me was a master grower, pretty much a doctorate at growing damn weed. And he'd tell me there ain't nothing you can fuck up that I can't fix.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, don't get me wrong, that's that's kind of a bold statement, because I mean, with plants, I mean, yeah, we can. You can kill them. And his idea was like, you know, well, they're sick, they're not coming back. And he'd go out there and get the weed eater and come in there and just whack them things. That's how I fix it. We start over.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a painful lesson. But it's a very necessary lesson, especially if you're a grower. Don't waste time nursing sick plants that you've done fucked up.
Yeah.
Knock them, start over. Don't cry over spilled milk. Learn. Nothing will teach you better than a good burn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you know this.
Telling you.
There's, you know, a lot of, especially early on, there were a lot of people in this industry that didn't know anything about this industry, but what is it? The old saying, "Fake it till you make it" mentality.
Oh, absolutely. That's all it is.
Dog and pony. You know, I told you, I didn't know anything when I first. I didn't even know when I saw weed for the first time. I didn't even know what it was, because it didn't look like the weed I'd ever smoked, you know, or ever got. And that was, you know, in Colorado, that's when they would weigh it right in front of you, you know, and take it out of the jar and the whole thing. But and I remember even going into my first cultivation, it was like in a warehouse. There was a motorcycle, a car, there were boxes everywhere, and they had those freezer sheets that, you know, when you walk into a walk-in freezer, those plastic sheets hanging from a ceiling that was 20 feet high, but they might have been only 10 feet high. And I remember walking in there and seeing the plants for the first time, and then seeing all the fly tape hanging in between each plant to grab all the mites and all the bugs and everything. And it was just a different thing even back then. And just to see from over the past 15 years how much that's all changed. The way these grows look, they look like NASA when you go into them. You know, I mean, when I first started, I never told anybody what I was doing because it was a taboo. You know, if I said a gummy, you're thinking a bear or a worm, right? Now I say a gummy, you're asking me how many milligrams are in that thing, you know, first, or you should be asking, right? But it's just crazy how much it's changed. And maybe it was my age group now. And when I got involved in this, I was you know, under 40. You know, I was in my mid to late 30s doing this, and here I am now, 53 years old. And I'm sitting here saying it's a young man's game. And when I was doing it, I was a young man. And now I feel like I walk in and the bud tenders, all they're young kids, the buyers, the managers, they're all, you know, they're young, but it's a young man's game. And that's where, you know, my sons are part of that. And, you know, sometimes you need a little wisdom from us old timers, right? You know, we've made the mistakes, or we've seen the mistakes, and being able to pass that on, not to sound like a know-it-all, but I'm going to help you avoid a lot of pain and suffering, you know, and you're going to learn real quick. What took me 10, 15 years to learn, you're going to learn in 3-4 months. And I'm going to make it real simple for you, you know, and that's kind of what I've been trying to share with them. And so far, like I said, it's working. We got a long way to go, but it's nice to come out of the gate and see the way people have embraced it and are liking it and enjoying it. And the sky's the limit for us. And maybe one day I'll be sitting here talking to you guys and saying, remember 2-3 years ago when I was all excited, you know, we were in 11, 12, 13, and we were climbing and climbing. And here we are now, we're in 11, 12 different states. You know, a lot of those big brands, they all started out just like this. You know, I love the Wana story. You know, it was basically a husband and wife that just started in their kitchen, you know, and look where it is now. A big company comes along and sees a brand and buys it and takes it to a whole nother level. You know, that could be us one day. And it's a great story. I think it's a story that, you know, when you look at some of these brands, so our competition, they're not our competition. In some ways, they're kind of like a mentor, you know, someone to look up to and try to learn as much as we can. And we're I guess you could say we're kind of like the rookie who just came up and he's hitting, you know, he's up there swinging and he's hitting. And, you know, but we know our place in the sense of the respect that we have for those brands, where we want to be them. We want to be better than them. But you know, we our goal at the end of the day is to be the best gummy company out there. And that's a great goal to have. But we also have a lot of goals before that. But that's what we're aspiring. So there's a lot of goals along the way. But you know, 15 years from now, 10 years or whatever it is, it'd be pretty damn cool to see City still rocking and across the whole country. But so that's you know, it's all things to aspire, but you gotta go through the ups and downs. You gotta be able to grind it. You gotta gut check every once in a while. You know, don't get me wrong. You feel beaten. There's days where I felt beaten the shit out of, but then you sulk a little bit, and then you put on your big boy pants and you get back to work. You know, and, that's just so.
Oh, I'm telling you, after they signed that, you know, hemp ban bill, that day was like one of the worst days. I've never had so many calls from so many people. And, you know, everybody's just like you said, that was such a gut check. You know what I mean? Like the amount of people that they're literally putting out of business is staggering. It's staggering. And, you know, it's being that I've been in it for a while, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of people. I'm fortunate not to be in a position that so many are. There's so many people in such debt that are literally getting ready to be shut down and screwed financially. And that's one of the things that I learned, you know, when COVID hit, because that was the one that got me real good, because I was the main investor on my first project in 2019 or late 18, early 19. And, you know, I was lucky to learn it with a 6-figure loss versus people I know that are going to lose it with 7-figure plus losses.
Yeah.
You know, and it hurt real bad. You know what I mean? A 6-figure loss, that's a 6-figure loss, no matter how you chalk it up. But when you see people that are literally getting ready to lose millions of dollars,
That's tough.
you know, it's heartbreaking, man, just to watch people go through that. You know, I don't wish to see that. I don't wish to see anybody.
No.
You know, this industry, there's plenty enough for all the good people that are involved.
Yeah.
And like us now, don't get me wrong. There's some of them shit bags in this industry. Them I don't mind seeing them go by the wayside. But they usually kind of weed their self out through their shitty ways. It just sometimes takes a few minutes.
Well,
And
you know, one thing I hope to never see is like RJ Reynolds get a hold of it, or
oh, that's already that's North Carolina. I mean, buddy, that's
well,
if
I know that's
it's
the plan eventually, but I
it
hope
is.
not to live to see that day.
I
this
tell
is
you,
a
that's
horrible idea. You know, I mean, cannabis. I don't know. To me, it's always been like a root element in my life since the age of 11. You know, it's been like a base part of my life, man. I couldn't imagine not having access to it, not having safe access to it again.
Well, I mean,
Living in a state where it's legal.
I like the small companies. You know,
Yeah, the small companies are those are the
the
ones I
small
did.
companies, they usually, you know, a lot of times they're the ones that, don't get me wrong, I'm not discrediting any big companies because there are some really good big companies out there that are operating properly.
Sure.
But the small guys tend to have more love for it. You know what I mean? They're not so much, they're not so financially driven to a point to where they lose sight of what the cannabis world and cannabis market really was based off of and built off of,
Yeah.
which was care.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and don't get me wrong, everybody, there's plenty of hustlers, plenty of people being in it just for the money. But you know, the ones that stand out are the ones that give a shit and really love what they do.
No.
Well, fellers, it's been an awesome Token Tuesday.
It has been.
I got cookies being made. I asked her, "Hey, I'm good and baked. Do we have any cookies?" And she's like, "We will in about 15 minutes."
What was that other thing you were eating the last time? That roll, like the cake roll? Was that it, or that you got at Costco? Or do you remember that?
I don't remember. I smoke a lot of weed, man.
I know. That's what I was gonna say. What am I talking about? I was the sober one. You were watching this. That was the gas mask night.
Oh,
Gas mask.
Dude,
Yeah. I'm lucky I remember my name after that night.
Is this the new puppy?
Yep.
her name is Taza Jade.
She's a demon.
She's not a demon.
She's half bulldog, half pit bull.
what's her name?
Taza Jade.
What a cute.
Oh, look
Puppy
at that.
dog.
What a cute.
Look at that little face.
Hey, puppy dog.
Hey, little puppy dog.
You should see her when she walks. She's got the stubby bulldog walk,
Yeah.
but she walks like she's tough, but everything scares the shit out of her. It's hilarious.
Oh.
We're going to go outside again.
She beats the shit out of Hercules, the giant, big, mean pit bull. She jumps up and bites him, holds on to his assorted parts. He just drags her around like seriously.
That's funny.
But yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to get into bed. I'm so tired.
Yeah.
All right, Uncle Strawberry.
Well, hey, listen, it's been great finding out about your products there, Dan.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
man.
guys. I appreciate
congratulations.
it. It's been, enjoyable. Thank you, Jericho, for inviting me. I wasn't expecting all you guys, so this was a treat. So this
Jess
was
says
fun,
good night.
and I enjoyed it even more. Uh, so I'm looking forward to doing it again, and we just got to keep plugging. So I thank you, Jericho, for all the support, and thank you guys. So thank you very much.
And best of luck, man.
Anytime, man.
Yeah.
Have a good Easter, and we'll see each other soon.
All right, everybody.
All right.
See ya.
Bye bye.
Good night.
In the garden where the green leaves grow, catch a vibe so smooth, feel the peace overflow. From the mountains to the sea, take a token, feel free. In the cannabis and network is where happiness be. Blazing trails with friends dancing in the twilight.
Hey, who?
Rings rise
You.
high under the pale
Hey, me?
moonlight.
Yeah.
Every new
Come
story,
here.
feel the world
What?
align. In the
Come
cannabis
here.
network, let your spirit shine. Come and
What?
join the crew where the good times
Yeah.
flow. In the
You
cannabis
look
and
like
network,
an
we
intelligent young man. I do? Yeah. Oh, yeah, I do, sure.
Yeah.
You look like someone who'd be interested in a bargain.
A bargain?
Yeah.
Why, sure, why not? Are you a salesman?
Right.
Oh. What do you sell?
Eights.
Eights, like the number 8. Like